Good evening and also happy 4th of July to everyone over in the US from north of the border, obviously. And welcome to an episode I wasn't sure was going to happen tonight, but circumstances arrived and, well, we're here. It's episode number 9 of the Bluegoose Interview Series. And my guest tonight is the owner of the NORC National Online Racing Championship League, a league that started in the console, has worked its way up into the iRacing series, and now here today and tonight the owner is joining us is John Barry. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, John, let's start things off with how NORC was created, because if I think this is right, I think you guys first started on the console gaming side of things with like the F1 games and the NASCAR games that were out at the time. What led to the creation of NORC?
Well, really, what started the league off was actually me being in a previous league. I think it was back on NASCAR '09, so we're going really far back with this. There was a league that was in that had a pretty good group of people in it. However, it had really, really bad management issues and it had very bad leadership problems. And it kind of got to the point I got so mad. It's like, well, if I ever do like a league again, I'm going to run it. So I had one little league that wasn't all that serious. I ran with somebody else on NASCAR 9. It was like a Daytona Talladega league. Then I ended up found this group of people who I hanging out with on a NASCAR game 2011. And, we played with each other. We did a lot of racing together. And there was an F1 game that came out. And, enough of us got the game where we kind of, look at each other as like, let's we got this YouTube channel I had that was getting sort of popular, and we seen where some other channels have done some league racing they put up on YouTube that was kind of popular. It's like, we got a good group of people here. I got enough YouTube channel, we have enough subscribers for it. Let's make a league. So we started a league on F1 2011. And once they eventually patched the online for NASCAR Game 2011, where it was playable online, we ended up doing a NASCAR league on that game, and that's what really kickstarted the NASCAR league was NASCAR Game 2011. That's where we really started out on.
So as you guys eventually continued on with the consoles, eventually though, a bunch of you guys started migrating over into iRacing. What led to your guys' discovery, and I guess what led to your discovery of iRacing as well?
Well, I think the thing that kind of discovered iRacing is like, you see guys like Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Denny Hamlin and Brad Keselowski. You see these guys who started out on NR 2003. And, especially like Denny Hamlin, it was kind of made a big issue where he actually used that game to practice for Pocono, and he actually swept his rookie season at that track because he learned it through NR 2003. And I did have that game, and I messed around with it on the single player on a lot. Never dab on it online because I never had a good enough computer, nor did I have a wheel pedal set to play it online. Then I started hearing stuff about iRacing, like, hey, this is basically NR 2003, but it's all multiplayer, and it's a hardcore sim. This is what the real drivers, use to train on. And I was like, wow, I really want to get in that. However, I do not have the computer nor the money to get on there and race on there. Well, I eventually did got a job, and I used that job to give me a new computer, and I got on iRacing. However, we didn't really get a league on iRacing at the beginning because we had very few people who were actually in the league at that point who could afford it. And no one had good enough computers to really run it. And I don't think anybody in the league at that time was really serious into sim racing because we were still on the consoles, and the consoles tend to be on the arcade side of things. But, slowly but surely, more of us started to migrate into iRacing, and we started looking at the numbers. Like, we got about 15 people who can do this league. Is like, I think, that's the amount of people we got racing on a console. Console 16 is the maximum you can have. It's like, if we can get around 12 to 15, which is what we had off 15, we can make a league possible on iRacing and make that work. And a big advantage that iRacing had over the console when it comes to the YouTube side of things was that, you go on the console, you're stuck just recording the chase camera. You have one thing you can record, and that's, it's the POV view of the guy who's racing. On iRacing, you actually go and look at a replay and actually present a TV style broadcast to the race, and it's like, wow, this was so much better to watch compared to console. And we start talking to each other, and then we eventually started our iRacing league in 2015.
And actually, kind of going back to like you were saying, like you guys being able to see like TV cameras. I guess one thing that I will say makes your guys unique for a league is that you guys actually go back. It's kind of like you relive your race. You kind of do like guys your own broadcasts of like previous races. And what was your inspiration to kind of do that? And what other things make your league unique from maybe some of the other leagues out there? Because I've interviewed maybe 4, maybe 5 league owners now, and they all give me different views. What kind of make your guys' league unique from others?
Well, let's see. The thing is of the TV broadcasting thing and putting it up on YouTube. Like I said, the thing is going back and talking over the replay, like a lot of these leagues, and now ours included, we now do in live broadcasts. And back then we didn't have, we couldn't really afford, nor were we looking into again a broadcast if we weren't big enough. But it's we're kind of going back, commentating over races that you have already done. You're kind of taking a look back at it, and you give such a different perspective of a race, where you're in the race is like, wow, this race is really boring, this race is a junk fest, and you go back and watch it, and it's like, wow, this is actually entertaining. It's entertaining to watch. It's fun to talk about. There's some great battles going on. It looks like you're watching an actual TV broadcast. And I think the thing that makes our league different when it comes to, the TV stuff and the broadcasting and putting it up on YouTube is that, you get some of these guys where they act way too professional and they're really boring. Or you get some people who are just don't seem like they're all that interested in it, and they don't know what they're talking about. And I think with us, we like to have fun with it. And there's certain people in the league who, we kind of like to poke fun at. There's certain, we watch a lot of stuff on Fox and stuff, and we hear Daryl and Larry McGreynolds, they make these big, they say these really ridiculous things, and we kind of like to, imitate that or emulate it, and just have fun with it. Have it. If we have fun commentating over the races and watching them, then people who watch them on YouTube will have fun. And at the end of the day, it's about putting a show on. And if people can watch your races and they're entertaining and they're having fun watching it, it's good racing, people's like, wow, I like watching this. This is a good time. I like to race over there myself.
So, of course, now if you're the league, of course, you guys now running the truck series. Of course, that's now live on Max Speed TV, and you're just starting, guys, getting your feet wet in the dirt series as well. But one thing that really stands out to me is, and I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this, like the winningest driver in your league, Bobby Zalenski, of course, now, as of talking and doing this interview, I believe he's leading the points in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. How gratifying is that to see someone that's run in your league for a good while, like Bobby, now doing what he's doing in the Peak Antifreeze Series? And like I said, right now he's leading the points after his win at Sonoma.
Oh, and it's really gratifying. Especially the thing about in the PC versus the console side of things is I think there's this, I'm not saying that everybody on the PC side is like this, but there's a bit of elitism, a bit of egotism when it comes to the PC side, where they do think they're so much better than everybody else on everything. And the thing is where we start out as console drivers, where we all use, controllers. There's little sticks and little analog stuff on the little controllers, playing a really arcadey game on a console. And to have it where someone who raced with us all the way then is now leading the points in the most competitive online racing series, oval racing series, it's really gratifying, because that tells everyone off in the world, hey, the console guys, they can be just as good as people on PC. Anyone who's good at racing games, it doesn't matter if it's console or PC, Doesn't matter if it's an arcade or sim. If they got the talent and they could put the work and effort into it like Bobby has, because he's worked really hard to be as good as he is. As long as they got that ability, they can make it to the top. And having somebody who's on a console work all the way up to the top is really gratifying. It says, hey, we're just as good as you are.
And actually, even just adding on to that, I mean, I was kind of in the same boat as probably you guys are. I mean, I started in leagues myself, and I had just an example like Grand Theft Auto 5. I just had like the controller and like analog sticks, and now I got this like G27 wheel. I got like wireless keyboards, this and that, and it's just going like just how much it's changed like from when we just first started on console to now where we are today. So I guess it kind of gives me a perspective as well, like how far we've come as well over the last many years, but. Anyway, now kind of talked about all the iRacing stuff. I gotta ask a couple like NASCAR stuff as well, because like I said, I always ask it to every other guest. I've always asked people about like the NASCAR chase and the NASCAR staged racing system. You want my opinion? I absolutely despise both of them. What is your opinion on the NASCAR chase and the NASCAR stage system? You can answer one or both of them. Doesn't matter to you.
Well, I'll start off with the whole playoff / chase, wherever they call it. It seems like they just call it something different every year. I'm not a really big fan of the current chase system, with there being winner-take-all race Homestead, because all of a sudden you now made Homestead the most important race of the year. It's even like a bigger race than the Daytona 500 in some shape or form. And I don't like the elimination format based off of if you have a great season all the way through, and you say you make it to like whichever race it is in the chase, you say like Dover, or the first couple of races like New Hampshire and Dover, and you blow out 2 right front tires, you kill the wall, you're out of it. Doesn't matter how many races you won in the regular season, you're out of it. However, they do got now where with the stage system and with the playoff points, at least if you do good during the regular season, it can kind of mend the wound a little bit. Say if you have a couple of bad races, it kind of helps carry you into the next round or so without being totally screwed. Like we see with Martin Truex Jr., where I don't know how many stage wins he has, but there's a lot. And he's got a lot of playoff points, and that really will help him all the way to Homestead. But, but the whole thing with the chase, I understand why NASCAR did it, because your average sports viewer this day now, it's hard to get someone to stay completely dedicated for all 36 races for them to really care. But we kind of also seen, too, if you look at the TV ratings, they really drop off for the chase. So you can kind of argue both ways whether or not it works or not. But and the thing is, he did 36 races. You get what happened with Matt Kenseth, where he won 1 race. He top 10 the living hell out of the whole season, and there's no real championship fight. But there's a reason why people still remember the championship battle of '92 between I believe it was Kawicki, and I think it was Davey Allison, if I'm not mistaken.
Kawicki, Bill Elliott for sure, and I think Davey Allison as well.
Okay, yeah, I think there was 3 of them. But there's a reason why people remember that one so much. And they'll remember the 2001 between Edwards and Stewart, but like the ones with the chase is like with the new chase format, the winner take all. It's not. When you force a game 7 all the time, it kind of loses the excitement. Like these guys, like Jimmy Johnson winning the last restart last year. Like people they're not going to remember that like they do '92 or 2011. And with the stage racing, I like it, but I don't like it at the same time, because it does make the middle portions of the races a little bit more interesting to watch. However, it seems like on some tracks, especially with Pocono and Sonoma, it kind of kills the strategy of it, because now you have a guaranteed caution at this particular lap. And we saw at Pocono, everyone pitted on exactly the same lap, and it's like that kind of kills the strategy of it. So I think the stage racing works at some places, but at some places it doesn't.
I will say one thing about the stage system, it makes Daytona and Talladega even more nuts. Because I always loved those two races. And just that race last weekend. I mean, we had like three chances of an epic winner with like Ty Dillon, Reagan, and I think Allmendinger was another one. And what's his name, McDowell. It makes it more fun, but still, I still despise it. But anyway, one last question for you, John, and I also asked this to every other guest. Back a while ago, I asked, like how everyone was all excited for Dirt, and now Dirt's out, of course, and now we got the new UI being worked on, Time Attack, and things like that. What if there was one thing that you could add or change to iRacing that we know for sure hasn't been worked on yet? What would it be?
Something that hasn't been worked on yet. Well, I know they say it's something like it kind of would break the code a little bit, and like they can't get it work. But I really would like to see green white checkers, because it's really frustrating to do. Like especially like if you do official races, with leagues, you can kind of do whatever you want to. Like we do our own green white checker, but it doesn't really actually score with it going manually plugging in. But when you do like official races, and especially you do something like Daytona and Talladega, I mean, it just sucks. It's been the last 4 laps under caution, and this race ends like such a buzzkill. And I kind of would like to see green white checkers be implemented into iRacing, and and there's also a part of me. I know some people thinks this kind of dumb thing. I really like to see them like implement blowovers. And at least better crash physics in iRacing, because you see it way too many times where you see these guys like they'll hit the wall and they'll ping pong off of it and go flying across track, and they just do these bizarre flips to make no sense. Mm-hmm. But yet we don't have blowovers, which this is using iRacing is technically using a modified code of NR 2003, and you see how many videos of people replicating like wrecks off that game that are blowover wrecks, or doing like realistic blowovers. I find it kind of annoying that we don't have those kind of wrecks on iRacing. And of course, they probably wouldn't happen that often anyway, because these cars seem like they lose a lot of speed when they spin out. But it'd be cool to see if they got put in the right spot where they get turned around backwards, the car would go up in the air and actually have a realistic flip instead of this kind of like this ping pong effect that you see with these really bizarre crashes that make no sense at all.
Yeah, indeed. I just remember that like now, like in our tours, if we had something like that, but of the cars blowing over, like you said, but that would be interesting to see in there. But anyway, on behalf of myself at Bluegoose Racing Streaming, thanks for taking the time tonight. This pretty much past 12 in the just midnight now where I am, but to be able to do this interview tonight. Is there any shout outs you'd like to give to before we go off the air this evening?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Bobby Zalenski leading the points. I'd like to give a shout out to my boy Fredo Rosa for running the SRA race last night, and gave us a shout out in his Max Speed TV interview. That was really awesome by him. And basically, most of the people I usually hang out with in the team speak, Jared, Kane, Emery, Nick, Hunter, Sean, TCB. He's selling shirts with his face on it, I think. I don't know. And like those are guys who hang out with TeamSpeak every night and make every night a lot of fun, and make us, make this sim racing not so serious all the time and have some fun with it.
Well, thanks again, John, for coming on the air scene for episode number 9 of the Bluegoose Interview Series, and best of luck to your league the rest of the season, and hopefully see what happens with Bobby Zalenski the rest of the season as well in the Peak Antifreeze Series.
Yeah, hopefully he can pull off that championship. That'd be awesome if he could.